So you go out, Moon Platoon, and you say, I'm going to pay off all of my student loans. When? Right now. All $216 million, 100% of which right now. And not only do you say, I'm going to pay it off right now, I am now going to be able to take my parents and give them something nice, maybe a shiny little vacation or something fun. This is what's happening with GME right now with a dividend and how that could destroy anyone short selling GME. So let's give this DD a very important click on the bottom of the description. After this video is over, of course, press that upvote and make sure that you are giving the DD some love. And let's see if we can get 740 likes on this video. That's the exact number that we're looking for. If you guys see that this video hasn't gotten up there yet, just do your civic duty, help this video get to more Space Apes and Moon Platoon members so that we can get this video rolling. And without any more ado, let's get going on understanding. Too long didn't read. Issuing a dividend will hurt short sellers to the extent that they've sold naked shorts. A 1 becomes 2 stock split will hurt short sellers to the extent that they've artificially lowered the price. The idiots shorting GME who have sold a lot of naked shorts and artificially lowered the price a lot too, so it will hurt a lot. So as of right now, note that this is not financial or legal advice. You should not be taking that kind of advice from this channel. And without further ado, let's find out exactly how this is going to destroy the short sellers. A few hours ago, they posted a thread explaining that GME can now issue a dividend if they want to, right? Give your parents something nice if you want to. In the comments, multiple people asked what impact this will have on the short sellers. I decided to write another post explaining this, and here's that post right here. If you guys haven't seen that old post, that's also in the description. Just press the link and then go to this link right here. Investopedia, so they have done is to apply the points that is unique in the situation we are in GameStop. Investopedia explains that dividends and share splits don't usually hurt short sellers, but the reasons that they aren't usually painful for short sellers do not apply for GameStop in this case. In short, got me good. In short, a dividend only F's short sellers if they have sold naked shorts. A stock split only F's short sellers if they have artificially lowered the price of a share they've sold short. Usually, dividends and share splits are fines for short sellers. In our case, there are a huge number of naked shorts and the price has been artificially lowered by a lot. So in this case, a dividend and or share split will absolutely F over anyone short. If you'd like a longer explanation, please read further. And I would recommend that as well. Continue to make sure you actually understand what a dividend or a share split is going to do. Dividend. If someone has sold a shorted share, they will have to pay the dividend to the person they borrowed the shorted share from. However, if you borrowed less shares or fewer shares than you have sold short, well, now you're paying the dividends for those naked shorts as well, which is fine because no one would sell those shares they haven't borrowed. But let's say someone had gotten themselves into a situation, how would that play out? Citadel, Melvin. So Citadel has done something absolutely terrible, like borrow 50 million shares but sell 500 million. Well, now it's got a problem. GameStop is paying 50 million dividends, but 500 million dividends need to be paid, and Citadel has to pay the 450 million extra dividends. It's kind of like saying, what is this analogy like? It is like saying, I would like to restructure my house, right? Basically tear up some of the upholstering, make it look pretty, right? I know how much of my house exists and I know how much it's going to cost. When I restructure my house, the people that have been illegally squatting and building other pieces of my house now have a extra expense, and they have created 10x more shares, more house with tents and stuff, like building scaffolding off of my house in an attempt to find some profits, and they are now going to get the boot because it's going to be really expensive. When I make the decision to issue a dividend, the other short sellers that have naked shorted are going to issue way more fat stacks to pay for my decision. Kind of like how if I send my parents on a vacation, Citadel has to send his wife and his wife's girlfriend and all 10x more people on a vacation as well. If this happens alongside lenders recalling their shares, unfortunately for Citadel, it gets worse. The people who lent Citadel the 50 million shares may also want to recall their shares if a vote is happening. So they will recall the shares they let Citadel borrow. Now Citadel has to return the 50 million shares it borrowed. So there are 500 million shares owed dividends. Citadel has to pay for 450 million of these dividends and has to return the 50 million shares it borrowed. This is already a big enough with an asterisk here. They made an error and altered the post accordingly. To clarify, Citadel cannot end up paying for more than 450 million in this scenario link. This is already a big enough mess to launch our rocket. Mr. Miggins, we're gonna go see the Coinbase in just a second. This is already a big enough mess to launch our rocket, right? The mother of all short squeezes, but it actually gets even worse again. It's not just the 50 million shares loaned to Citadel that are actually being recalled. Throughout this process, people have loaned shares to Citadel that were already borrowed shares previously sold by Citadel, right? This is the recursive shorting, over shorting tactics. These people didn't know they're being loaned shares that are already been borrowed. They thought that they were normal shares, so they recalled their shares to vote 2. Oh dear, now Citadel is on the hook for all of those dividends and even more shares, which is why we've been saying make sure you have called your brokers to recall your shares at all at the same time, just because Cohen has issued a dividend. Now that is the dividend, I think this could be called the dividend squeeze. We're coining too many squeezes right now, so for now, let's just say that dividends can trigger the mother of all short squeezes. Share splits. If someone has sold a shorted share and there's a 2-for-1 stock split, one share becomes 2, they now have to return twice as many shares, right? This is normally fine. Let's say that the price of GameStop goes a little too high and now they want a $1,000 share of GameStop to actually become 2 $500 shares of GameStop. This is usually fine. But this would only be a problem if the shares didn't drop in price when they doubled in quantity, which is fine because no one would short shares that people won't sell. But let's say the same person from earlier had shorted shares that no one will sell. What happens? Essentially, this is splitting the stock and then having the stock's price gap up immediately because still nobody is selling, right? So once again, this is just a scenario where we would double up on the amount of shorts that have, naked shorts in particular, that have not yet been covered. Let's see. Okay, back to our example. So it's getting even worse for Citadel because if they have sold 500 million, okay, changing the title name here. If they sold 500 million shares short, and there is a 2-for-1 split, now they owe 1,000 million shares. Before the split, there were 50 million real shares and 500 million shorted shares. This means that closed at a short position, they need to buy back 450 million shares back. They need to keep buying shares until only the correct number of them exist. The problem is that the correct number of shares has doubled, but so has the number of shorted shares. Let's make this clear. Out of this pie, only a certain portion of it are real. The rest are going to be synthetic longs, counterfeit shorts here. So in this case, if we issue a dividend from this part of the pie, the rest of the pie also needs to issue a dividend. That was the dividend here that would make it really hard for a Citadel to find cash because they're trying to avoid being a margin squeeze here. I know this is a little faint, so bear with me. Now we're talking about a stock split, turning this pie into twice the size. This is normally okay because then it becomes half the cost, right? From $1,000, maybe this is going to become 500. Not if people continue to hodl, right? If they hodl now, they are then going to increase the size of the pie right back to the size it was before. So now there's twice as many shares, twice as many synthetic shares in this part of the pie that don't exist, and twice as much obligation for Citadel to have to pay that back. So remember, this is not supposed to be a problem. Sure, the number of shares Citadel owes has doubled, but the price has halved, except the price only halves if people are willing to sell their shares for half the market price, right? And the willingness to sell is the entire game. Usually this is the case because they have twice as many shares, so they'll sell each share for half as much. Unfortunately, people aren't likely to sell their shares at Citadel for half the market price because the market price is wrong. So we've already been used to seeing the price get hurt on and on and on, to being pushed down by manipulation. And now the bigger question is, hey, if enough of these apes hold, even if they do a share split, this is just going to double the problem for Citadel while not solving any of the supply and demand mismatch here. Implications. So a dividend F's the short seller if they have sold naked shorts. A share split F's the short seller if no one will sell them the shares at half the pre-split market price. Unfortunately for anyone short selling GME, there are a massive amount of naked shorts and no one is willing to sell for market price, let alone half of it. Notice that these tools aren't going to kill short sellers in normal circumstances. They only hurt short sellers that are naked shorting shares for an artificially low price. A dividend and a stock split will hurt stock sellers to a degree that have sold naked and at an artificially low price. These are two ways to blend up the bad guys, the people that have made very bad choices and are now going to pay that price. So two blenders. Will these start going off at the same time? Will one go off and trigger another? We will find out soon enough. But this is the two important pieces of this pie. Right? If they were Cohen, what would this DD writer do? If they wanted to launch a rocket, they would declare a dividend and a 1 becomes 2 stock split. Note this comment for an explanation of why this is unlikely a dividend and or a share split will be used as a squeeze catalyst alongside the record date for the shareholders meeting. So make sure to read this comment. Thank you for the apes in the comments who have helped him edit this post and fix their errors. And thank you guys for sticking all the way to the end. You know, Professor Meatball and I, we have some patience to sit in some chairs and some cubbies for a whole day, bell to bell, every weekday. But you guys have the patience to not only listen up and make sure you guys are staying on your financial education journey, but also for those of you who have gone above and beyond and press that join button next to the subscribe button on YouTube, or go down to the YouTube description and check out the Patreon links. Thank you to those of you who are Gorillionaires, Meatball, the Space Legenteers, Moon Platoons, and the Unseen Mo Monkeys working hard, special operations, infantry level groups for running the show. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you already got your $250 of free crypto from the BlockFi link down below, as well as the 2 free stocks from WeBull from the links down below, and we will see you in the money.